Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with another franchise ranking. And this franchise ranking is going to be for a film series I have been doing since the start of June and just officially wrapped up the beginning of this week, or beginning of this month, which is July. And that film was for none other than a certain popular animated franchise, the Despicable Me franchise, aka where I'll be ranking all 5 movies from worst to best like I did with Jurassic Park. This will be another Cody Leach style ranking. So yeah, now that I've seen and reviewed all the movies leading up to the Rise of Gru and saw Rise of Gru and reviewed that, it's time for me to rank all 5 movies in this franchise. This ranking might probably happen again in 2 more years when Despicable Me 4 comes out. But anyway, with that being said, let's officially get started with from worst to best now. Alright, so kicking off at the bottom of the barrel at number 5, the lowest of this franchise, is 2015's Minions. Now, really, the film doesn't have a specific story. We just see an outline of the Minions' life trajectory, extremely light and far-fetched, before we follow the 3 of them on a trip to the US in search of a new boss, a villain to serve and, of course, to annoy. This film does not work as a prequel to the first movie of the Despicable Me franchise, expendable prequel made with money in mind, based on unthinkable characters for protagonists. Suffice to say that the Minions are not the kind of characters I would beg to be the main stars of a movie. As a result of this, the film is excessively long for the plotted brains. It's predictable and is full of problems of logic and historical rigor, such as being set in the 60s. I'm willing to forgive the inquiries, but the problems of logic and the film's uneven pace are harder to put aside. Being a comedy, I found the film excessively lukewarm in terms of being funny. There's really almost nothing to laugh about, especially considering that the Minions is nonsense, which is funny in the Despicable Me films, loses its force here. The overturned scene works reasonably well, but it keeps getting worse from there. It lacks above all creativity and good ideas, a dose of commitment, and creating a film that simply relies on the cuteness of its characters, like it was from the start just doomed to be a disaster. Now kicking off at number 4 is going to be 2017's Despicable Me 3. So going to Despicable Me 3, I had some hope it would be more like the first 2 movies and less like the Minions spin-off. In my opinion, it was somewhat in the middle, but this film was just a very unnecessary cash grab of a film. The animation looks acceptable, but Illumination's animated artists still were not able to keep up with the talents of Disney and Pixar during this time. However, the backgrounds in some scenes were really vibrant in a European backdrop. The story, however, is just scattered. You couldn't tell if it was more about Gru or Balthazar Brat or Gru and Drew. As well as those plots, we also had Lucy trying to become a good mother, even though the girls already considered her a mother at the end of Despicable Me 2 when her and Gru got married. Agnes trying to find a unicorn, and then the Minions escaping prison while deciding to just randomly, uncharacteristically betray their boss. Also, none of the other films, the first 2 films specifically, mention Gru having a brother, so that sign of continuity errors right here. What I did like, though, is at least we're back to Gru being the main focus, and Trey Parker does give a good voice performance as Balthazar Brat, but with this film, that's just about it for me. Alright, so kicking off at number 3 is going to be the most recent film of the series that came out yesterday, and that is, of course, Minions: The Rise of Gru. Now, for someone that was not hyped for this movie and all thought this movie was going to suck, this film honestly was a surprise. Sure, still not overly great like the IMDb trolls are claiming it to be, unless it's just meant to be a joke. But this was a definite improvement after 2 bloody disappointments we've been getting in this franchise before this. It brings the absurdity and ridiculous tropes of the franchise as a whole, and it's pretty much still funny. Not quite as the first 2 main movies, but I could see an argument for it. For sure, it's definitely better than the 2015 film. The Minions are actually were at their best in this film since 1 and 2, with so many memorable moments. The story is surprisingly unpredictable and keeps you invested. The visuals are stunningly beautiful. Like, I was pretty memorized with some of the visuals. The action scenes are even pretty epic, the best in the entire series. And I really like this movie also focused on Gru and how he started to ascend into his villainy. However, I feel like the movie could have been way longer, the 6 villains could have been handled slightly better, and Michelle Yeoh's character needed more screen time for sure, but other than that, Minions: The Rise of Gru is actually one of the better films in this franchise. Alright, now kicking off at number 2, the second best film in this series is most definitely going to be 2013's Despicable Me 2. Despicable Me 2 is a brilliant film with a great storyline and an impressive voice cast. It's definitely not better than the first Despicable Me movie, like a lot of people make it out to be. The first one's a lot more heartwarming, but this is still a very good sequel, and it's everything you want in a family film, like humor for both the young and older audiences. But however, the story of the movie kind of feels scattered and throughout, and I feel like they were trying to fit too much in 1 hour and a half. Like, the first Despicable Me, the minions are the best part, and they get even more screen time in the one that they did previously. It's almost impossible to kind of not to laugh at these goofy and lovable characters back when they were funny. The first Despicable Me movie is still better, no doubt about that, but this is still a pretty great continuation of the story. Like, while Gru has sworn off his evil ways, he still has not lost everything that made him so uncharming in part one, no unintended. Added a few new voice members and an ever reliable source of minions, and you get a really good comedy mix. However, when it comes to bad qualities, like the three girls Gru adopted in the previous film have a smaller role this time, mostly kind of involving the subplot about finding a girlfriend for Gru and the eldest son's involvement, and the eldest daughter's involvement with Eduardo's son, which kind of just goes nowhere. The romance between Gru and Lucy won't really surprise everybody, but it provides some good laughs, especially when she helps Gru get rid of an unwanted date. I'd certainly recommend this to anyone who enjoyed the first film, and in my opinion, this is still the great conclusion to the franchise. But with that, the number one best film in the series, the biggest crowning achievement in this franchise, at the number one spot is most definitely Despicable Me from 2010. This movie is still enjoyable for all ages. Though a lot of the humor is aimed at children, there are many moments that you as an adult will find yourself laughing out loud. Despicable Me has managed to get the balance of entertainment for children and entertainment for the parents just right. The story is very clever. I truly love it because it's different than most of the other children movies where the protagonist is a good guy rather than having a little bit of a twist where the main character is a villain. Steve Carell's accents on Gru are also excellent. They're unique and amusing. Not only the sounds, the model of Gru is also cool. His nose is like so long that it looks strange like Pinocchio's. The three little orphans are also very well developed, especially Agnes, the smallest one. Vector was decent, but as a main villain, he just kind of feels like a punching bag in the later half than a really well-written antagonist. So I kind of would have preferred if his dad, Mr. Perkins, was the main antagonist of the film because he felt kind of slightly better written than Vector was. So I feel like that would have been slightly better. The music fits very well with the film and is memorable without being overly ambitious or simplistic. The story is seamlessly inventive and fast-paced with a surprisingly clever subplot about the importance of family. My favorite aspects of Despicable Me are the humor and the voice cast. The writing is just excellent. It was so funny and incredibly smart without feeling too much. While the voice work is exemplary, especially from Steve Carell's brilliant vocals, and a lot of film to the success. So, yeah, Despicable Me is still a perfect family movie of the 2010s, and I always like to watch it over and over again. And with that, we have officially ranked all the Despicable Me films. Now, I want to know in the comments below how you guys would rank the franchise. Even if you hadn't seen the Rise of Gru, I still would also like to see some cool opinions on how you guys would rank the films you have seen so far. Or if you have seen the Rise of Gru, how would any of you who saw the Rise of Gru include it in your ranking and where you'd put it in your opinions? But yeah. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this franchise ranking video. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.